as recently as yesterday to continue to try to get this deal hammered out. We'll see whether they can. Now, we should also put into context here that Urban Meyer has been a difficult coach to pin down. And we've seen many situations evolve in recent years where teams thought that they were getting close to a deal with a particular coach only to see that deal go by the wayside. And until Urban Meyer signs on the dotted line, it's not a deal. But the two sides clearly are highly interested in seeing if they could finalize this deal that would bring Urban Meyer to Jacksonville, to what is right now the most attractive job opening in the NFL. And it's attractive because the Jacksonville Jaguars have the #1 overall pick. They have 11 upcoming picks in the upcoming draft. They have over $100 million in salary cap space. They are in a no-tax state, which would be an enticement to all free agents. And so there could not be a better opportunity for Urban Meyer. At the same time, the Jaguars owner, Shad Khan, has been going through his process. And while everybody's thinking that Urban Meyer has been the one guy that they've been focused on, the Jaguars have gone about and done other interviews as well, notably Arthur Smith, the Titans offensive coordinator, on Sunday night, and other candidates as well. And I think Shad Khan, as a minority, wants to be entirely respectful of the process and has been. But at this point in time, he is in advanced talks with Urban Meyer to see if these two sides can finalize a deal that would bring a man who's won 3 national championships across 4 stops to Jacksonville to try to help Jacksonville advance to the next level in the NFL.
Yeah, off the top of my head, that was Bowling Green, then Utah, then Florida, where he won 2 titles, and then he won 1 at Ohio State. He would try to become the 4th coach ever to win the national championship in college and win the Super Bowl. Pete Carroll, Barry Switzer, and Jimmy Johnson are the ones who have done that. So, Louis, let me start with you. What do you think? Urban Meyer spent his entire life in college football. What would you think of that marriage, him going to Jacksonville?
Well, obviously, if you're going to make the jump from college to the pros, you want it to be a situation where you have a lot of capital at your disposal, whether it be from a salary cap perspective or a draft perspective, to really acquire as much talent as you possibly can. Because when you're someone who is a college coach, you're used to being able to control really the personnel on your football team largely, by your own doing, meaning this: you can go out, as long as you are a great recruiter, you can go out and sell players on your program. You can get as many quote-unquote first-round prospects as you want if you have the facilities and you have the kind of program that players are attracted to. So it would make sense for a college coach to be attracted to a situation like Jacksonville, where it seems as though, in the realm of team building in the NFL, they have everything at their disposal to go ahead and make a quick turnaround. So I understand the intrigue on his part. He is someone who has been very successful at the college level. Now, the grind and the restrictions as you can do as far as your roster is concerned, and whether or not you can actually get the players that come to your place in the NFL, are much different than they are in college. So those kinds of pressures are much different. We'll see how it turns out, and whether ultimately, if it does turn out for him, he can be. There's been a lot of people who have tried it. Very few have been successful at it. So we'll have to wait and see.
That's right. Nick, I will come to you on that thought. The overwhelming majority of college coaches with no pro experience who've gone to the NFL have not succeeded. I just read you the ones who succeeded at the very highest level. What would be your biggest concerns about Meyer not having the NFL experience?
Nothing, frankly. I mean, the overwhelming majority of coaches don't succeed. Not very many coaches win Super Bowls. Not very many coaches last past their first deal. So I think it's just a really hard job. You need luck, and you need consistency, and you need a good staff. I think that would be the most concerning thing about bringing Urban Meyer on, considering the fact that he's been away from coaching for a little bit. It might be challenging for him to find the type of staff that he'll need to support him. But I think all the things that you said were true, and starting even with what Adam said about being successful across 4 stops, that was really, really impressive, and one of the reasons why he's one of the best coaches in the history of college football. But he went across 4 stops in part because that's who Urban Meyer is, kind of like Larry Brown in basketball. It feels like you want a long-term commitment from a guy like Urban Meyer, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to do that at 2 the stops. I understand not sticking around at Utah or Bowling Green, but Florida and Ohio State are programs that they're kind of last place destination stops for a lot of college coaches. So I'd be interested to see that him being 1.5 miles from Gainesville, if he's going to end up staying in Jacksonville for a long time. If he does, I foresee him being successful.
Yeah,
but
Florida,
let me just say this.
Go ahead, Schefter.
There could not be a better situation for him to step into if he decides he wants to fully make the jump right now. This is the one that if he's going to take it, he's going to take it now. And what he struggled with at the college level, I believe, was that when he lost a game in a college football season, their season essentially was shot in terms of winning a national championship. There are not too many teams that lose a game in college football and go on to win the national championship. So at the NFL, he could lose a little bit more, and it wouldn't drive him as crazy as it did in the college level. So maybe there's some flexibility there, but there could not be a more attractive opening position for him to jump to if he was ever going to make that jump. And yes, he's begun assembling a staff, and he's bringing along some trusted assistants if he makes that jump. But he's preparing right now as if he would go, and we'll see whether he finally takes that last step to doing it.
And you just described the situation where you could really he could mold the team in so many ways, like clay into a sculpture, because he has so much flexibility there with cap and et cetera. Damian Woody, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think listen, I like the move, actually, for a couple of reasons. Number one, Urban Meyer, everywhere he's been, he's built the culture. He's been a proven winner. I mean, we talked about it, whether it's Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State. He's built the culture that's had those programs in winning positions. That's number one. And then number two, the fact that he's a college coach, he's been, obviously been close to the game. He continues to be close to the game. He knows these college players. And so when it comes to, the draft and having maybe some familiarity with these guys, that maybe might give him a leg up in the whole process. Now he has to build out a staff around him that'll help him out with the process. But I think, when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars situation, having a clean slate with all those assets,
concern for you, the offense he has always run?
Yeah, well, I think coaches need to continually evolve. And remember now, the offense that Nick Saban ran when he first got to Alabama looks nothing like the offense that he is running now and absolutely bludgeoning the competition with. So, evolving as a coach is obviously important. Now, look, there are people who believe that when Ryan Day took over the offense at Ohio State, it expanded dramatically and became much more explosive and became much more of a downfield passing attack to really exploit the width and the length of a football field. So I think Urban would be smart enough to see that look, that the pro game is one where you have to continually be growing, especially in the passing game aspect of it, and be able to threaten people the entire length and width of the football field. And I'm sure that's something that he's thought about. And again, when you're talking about staff construction, I think that's something that a staff could help him with as far as understanding how you attack defenses in the NFL and what
in their roles. I want to take a moment to tell Bears fans, we understand your frustration. We're frustrated too. The decisions we're announcing today may not be the easiest or most popular, but we believe they're the best decisions for the Bears.
D. Wood, trying to read the look on your face. Go ahead, big fella.
Learning in their roles. The hell are you talking about? How many years they both been there? They've been there for like, what, four years at least? I mean, the Bears must love living in mediocrity. That's what it seems like to me, because both those guys, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, hasn't gotten the quarterback situation figured out. You go out and you draft Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. That's always going to be in infamy in Chicago. Then once that wasn't work out, then you bring in Nick Foles thinking that he was going to, run to the aid and be this big hero in Chicago. That didn't work. Okay, so you've had a couple bites at the apple trying to solve the quarterback position, and it just hasn't worked out at all. I don't know how many people get a couple bites at the quarterback position and still keep their jobs. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I've covered the sport a long time, Dominique, and I've never heard anyone say they were impressed with the coach when he lost 6 consecutive games. That's not something I can.
At first,
Go ahead.
at first listen, it sounds absurd, and I wish someone would have asked some follow-up questions to ask him specifically what he's talking about. But during a losing streak is when you really find out about people. So I don't think it's as absurd as it sounds, and I think sticking with them is a fair choice to make. While you say they had many bites at the apple, like they drafted one quarterback. That quarterback, they got him to the Pro Bowl, and they went 25.